Bonjour à tous, my name is Benjamin Arnaud, aka Bungie. And today, for the first time, I'm going to code MotionBox live. MotionBox, the video browser, which is a project that I started a few years ago now. And today, I'm very excited to share my development process with you guys. So I'm very new in this streaming stuff experience, so bear with me as I learn the ropes here. Hopefully, we'll do some interesting stuff. Now, as a reminder of what I'm trying to do here, let me describe for a second what I'm trying to achieve. I'm not going to show off anything. I don't want to show off my skills as a developer or anything like that. I'm not interested in doing a spectacle here. Nor am I interested to teach things really. Mostly because I don't really think that you can teach someone to code. I think that the best way to learn how to code is actually to code, to practice coding itself. So what I'm looking to do, what I want to do here for real is I want to do an immersive streaming experience, which is to be as authentic and as real as possible with my developing experience as a coder, so that you can feel what I feel. So maybe sometimes the stream will be a little bit boring, maybe sometimes the stream will be a little bit exciting, but what I can promise you is that it will be real. There will be no, faking or anything like that. I'll just be doing stuff for real, just like I'm doing when I'm coding by myself, except you'll be with me, hopefully, in my head, and we can do some great stuff. So instead of chatting for a long time, let's start right away, and let's start with music. So I'm using MotionBox, which is the software that I've been developing for quite a long time, which is a video browser. I'm using it to play music while I'm coding. And what you're seeing here is my development environment called Qt Creator. I'm using that mostly to code to code everything pretty much. I'm coding in C++ with Qt, so that makes sense. So today is the very first chapter of the MotionBox development stream, if you want. That's the first chapter, and what could be better than to start with implementing torrent streaming? At this moment, MotionBox is supporting. Is not supporting torrents, it's supporting three protocols really, which are YouTube, Vimeo, and Dailymotion. Let me show it to you right now. So this is MotionBox. And as you can see, we got 4 hubs currently supported there. So you start there and you can search anything really. For instance, if you're looking for some StarCraft stuff, or let's say you're looking for Madion, for instance, which is a music guy, you can search on what I call the video network. And what the video network is really is just the sum of all the sources, the video sources on the internet. Now, what is a source, a video source on the internet? What do I call video source? Well, I'm calling video source anything that contains a video resource. For instance, a web page is a video source because it might contain a link to a video resource, like say a YouTube link or say a native video file. And so when that happens, I pretty much see the source as a playlist, the web page as a playlist, and I'm parsing all the content to display it into a very streamlined playlist experience so that you can access and play your tracks right away. You don't need to wait for any JavaScript extension to load or any HTML to boot. It works right away. Now, I'm currently supporting YouTube, Dailymotion, and Vimeo. And what I'm looking to do next, I'm also supporting native files. For instance, if I'm searching for a Kickstarter video, for instance, if I'm searching like Kickstarter Double Fine, we should be able to browse the video itself. The native video itself. Let me check that. Yeah, here For instance, it's not a YouTube videos, nor a Dailymotion video, nor anything else. It's just a native, MP4 that's embedded on the webpage. So I'm just extracting it, and when I'm playing it, hopefully this should work. Now I'm streaming the video as it is on the website. So MotionBox is supporting native files, YouTube, Dailymotion, and Vimeo. And the next step for me really is to start implementing torrents. And what I'm calling torrent as a playlist, which is when I see a torrent, when MotionBox sees a torrent, loads a torrent for him, it's not some kind of package containing files. It just really is a playlist. So if it contains MP4 and video files, it's going to display them as a playlist. If it does not, it's going to display an empty playlist. So what I want to do for the next minute is start implementing the SK torrent library inside of a SkyKit, which is the library I'm using, which is the framework, pretty much the application kit I'm using to do MotionBox. I want to do that today. But first, let me see if there is some comments or anything to answer to. So Chicken's Kill is asking something. Okay. Do you WebM also? So yeah, I'm supporting WebM. Actually, the current sound playing in the MotionBox right there is a WebM track, so I believe. And I'm fine, thank you very much. So we're going to start right away. I've prepared what I call devlogs because, instead of just keeping my notes for me, why not sharing them? Wouldn't that be great to share them with the community? And so if I go not to my Twitch actually, but to my GitHub, there should be some stuff to check there. So yeah, that's my devlogs. Currently it's pretty much empty. So we got the first chapter, as you can see there, which is torrent streaming. So as I mentioned, that's what we're going to do today. And also there are third-party stuff and stuff like that. So it's pretty empty, but I happen to have the GitHub project open right there, so we're going to fill that up, hopefully. So let's start by pointing out the date. So episode 1, 5/206. I'm not sure if I keep the European format, maybe I'm going to do it this way instead. Yep. I don't know. European format makes more sense to me, but for some people it can be disturbing. We'll see about that. So here I'm going to specify everything that I do. So everything that I'm committing, that I'm changing, will be specified there. And if I discover some cool links or anything like that, they will be written there, so anybody can check the logs that comes with what I'm doing there. So let's start. I'm so excited about that. I've been working on this stream for a long time and, just preparing everything. And today I get to do the real coding, so it's exciting. If I go to my workspace here, I have a few projects, including MotionBox. But we're not going to work on MotionBox today. We're going to work on SkyKit, which is really it's the application kit, as I mentioned. I want to say framework, but it's not a framework. It's really more of an application kit, like kind of something you deploy to do a desktop application as fast as you can. And as mentioned, it's the complete application kit for MotionBox. So I built it from the ground up for MotionBox. And you might think that MotionBox is just a QML big project and it's not relying on anything else. But indeed, MotionBox is mainly based on C++ code, which is inside SkyKit library. So, if we check, for instance, here, not the branches, but if we check the code, we get 75% of C++ code, and believe me, that's a lot of lines. And for a one guy project, at least. And in MotionBox, we get like QML 87, so you could think that MotionBox is a QML project when really it's based on the SkyKit library. So cool. So let's stop right there, indeed. So what I want to do today is just extend this library, because right now I have core, GUI, media, web, components, and presentation, which is indeed a few lines, a few QML files that I haven't released yet because they are pretty much not ready to be public. So today we're going to create a new folder and we're going to call it sktorrent. sktorrent, and this is going to be a new library in the SkyKit library, in the SkyKit kit. So let's just add a project file going to be called sktorrent, and we're going to need SRC, obviously. So the first thing I'm going to implement with this is most likely a Bencode backend, because as you might know, when you're parsing torrent, you need to pretty much access and extract Bencode files. Yeah, so let me check if somebody else is asking questions. So what about using a GitHub IO to do the dev logs? Yeah, I thought about that. I also thought about deploying a wiki. Why not? The thing that I don't really like about going with the full GitHub experience is that if eventually GitHub shuts down, or if I want to mirror what I'm doing, it would be harder because there are some specific Git stuff there. And I like to do distributed stuff so that I can move them from one to the other. I will be only one to spam, yeah. That's the thing you get for, that's the privilege you get for being the first viewer, indeed. But I'm here to code mostly, and this is, like I said in the previous test stream, this is an IFPS, so I'm supposed to be focusing on the code, so I try to do that now, and maybe at one point I'll try to answer a few questions. So sktorrent is right there. Let's just load the freaking file. Yeah. So I'll just replace a few stuff there. Destination, the other template that I'm using. For now, I'm not sure what will be used, so let's leave that blank. Plugin is there. Defines, so that's not the web library, that's the torrent library. So this is the defines for Qt 4 and Qt 5. We're supposed to include a bunch of stuff. So, for now, we're just going to leave that blank because I haven't got files in the library. Okay, so let me put my headset on and focus 100% on this. And let me put the sound at 2. Okay, sounds good. All right. So I'm going to clear the cache. Boom. All right. So we're going to need core and GUI dependencies, not the web. Core and GUI most likely. MacX. No. So MotionBox is not currently supporting MacX officially, OS X, but it might in the very near future. It will, I think. So, okay. Okay, no, that's not that. Yeah. So, when you are on MacX, you're supposed to call the thing called install name tools to specify the library you're depending on, which is a bit of a headache initially when you don't know about that. I remember struggling a few times for this, but yeah, anyway. And then I'm copying this to binary library. Yeah, okay. Okay, good. So this is my project file. So here, looks like we just did something. So add sktorrent library. Well, we could say create. Okay. Yep. Okay. So I think I'm going to just maybe commit this. Well, no. You know what? I'll just add a few SRC first. Okay. So there a backend in this? Nope. Oh, yeah, of course. Okay. Okay. Let me check that. Okay. Okay. So if I remember well, I need to add something there. Yep. So this is all the define for exporting / importing libraries. Yep. Torrent. Cool. Okay. So now we got a freaking torrent library and export for it. It's cool. So let's commit indeed. Let me check what we changed. Maybe this window is a bit tiny. Not sure about that. Whoops. Okay. So I'm going to add a few files. Well, you know what? I'm just going to open another bash to do this. Okay. There we go.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Oh, it's not showing the diff. Weird. Okay. Never mind. Okay. Let me read this again to make sure that I haven't screwed anything. Yep. Okay. I remember that. Just going to do that because okay. You know what? I'm just going to copy paste that to make sure that I haven't screwed anything. Boom. Okay, so here I need to add obviously sktorrent, which are the includes for sktorrent, even though currently there's not much of them. I'll be generating them in a second when we have CPP file. Okay. Okay. Boom. Oh ho ho! Looks like I just fixed a bug. Okay, it's not supposed to be this way. It's supposed to be this way. Okay. Huh. Cool. So let's commit that actually. So if we go back to our torrent streaming blog, create sktorrent library. Yep. Let me check the syntax. You know, there's a saying that when you're starting to code, you're taking a long time to think about what you're going to write next in terms of algorithm, in terms of how to code, how to implement things. And when you become to code when you code for quite a long time, you spend more time naming stuff, naming your variables or your commits or everything than just coding the damn code, which is a bit of a bummer, but you know, happens. Okay, so what's my syntax for that? Yeah, I think create would be fine. Anyway, if the commit is not properly written, maybe I'll just modify it before pushing, because you can modify the message obviously if you're not okay with it. So okay, create sktorrent library. I like to keep it as short as possible, and so that when coders are going to look at the code, it can be as simple as possible for them to understand it and to browse through it. Okay, let's do that. 2 files. Show me that. Okay, so sktorrent is there. Yep. Okay. Yeah, okay. But that's a good start. Yeah. Okay. That's a good start. So, next up, we need to create CPP file. Let's do that now. So we're going to create a media backend. I'll be explaining what is a media backend in a sec. But for now, let me just create it. So I'll just copy paste my DuckDuckGo backend there and the profile there, which is the PRY file, and this is a sub project. Whoops. The file is opening up on the other screen, not good. Okay, this is just another sub-project to be loaded from a PRO file or a project file that specifies a bunch of cpp.h file. The cool thing there is that if you don't support a file or anything else, if you want to avoid compiling one of those, you can just command them there, directly there, instead of defining and if-defining stuff. So that can be convenient sometimes. Okay, so let's do that. Media, okay, sktorrent is there. I'm going to rename that and call it backend Bencode, but I need to check for the Bencode syntax indeed. Bencode, Wikipedia, Bencode. Never translate French, my dear. Okay. Yeah, looks like it's written like this. Bencode. Oh, I get Wikipedia French. Sucks. So, I'm not sure if there's a way to tell Google not to search with my geographic location or my IP based on my IP address. I'm not sure about that. So, oops, sorry about that. So Bencode, pronounced like B-encode. Okay, that's the way they built the term. Yeah. So we're going to look at this page a lot because I haven't coded that before. That means that it's the very first time I'm coding a parser for Bencode. So there's going to be maybe awkward moments when I try to figure things out, but once again, it will be authentic and real. I'm not trying to cheat here. I'm just trying to be real. So Bencode, so I guess for now we just can call that backend Bencode like this. really simple indeed, and just, you know, have it this way. So now we need to load the files. So we need to include the PIY file. So I'll do it there. And we're going to need, we're going to need to replace a few things. So let's do that. Now we should have a backend Bencode somewhere. Should be there. And it's not. Oh, of course it's not. Okay, forget about that for a sec. Yeah. Hold on. Okay, be good. Should be working perfectly. What the f... Okay. Oh! Of course it doesn't. Okay, we need to commit that. Well, indeed we could, yeah. You know what? Instead of doing that, since I haven't commit, let's undo. Okay, let's commit again. And now, yeah, the file is there. Also, I've seen a bug in SK backend, so we need to fix that, which is there. Hopefully, since I'm not testing this code much, you know. But we're not supposed, if it's a release, we're not supposed to link against debug library. When it's a big D at the end like that, it means it's debug, obviously. Okay, so we're not supposed to do that. So yeah. So even though it's not directly related to what I'm doing with torrent streaming, I'll put it there nonetheless because it's supposed to be a complete history of what I did. So SK backend, whoops, fix OSX install name tools for release. It's not very convenient having that window there. Okay, there is better. Maybe check the syntax again. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so that's done. Next up, we need to load our media module. And thus we should see something like this. Yep, there it is. So that's our backend. Currently it's named DuckDuckGo, obviously, because I just copy-pasted the damn code. So we're going to need to change a few things. First of all, I'm going to change the license there. As you might know, MotionBox is under the GPL v3 license. That means that anybody can, use it as long as their code is under the GPL2 is shared publicly too. So I use that license because I really want to ensure that everything that I'm coding goes to the community, goes back to the community, because I'm all about sharing with this project. I want to share the innovation that it represents as much as possible, because I really believe that innovation should be shared. It shouldn't be kept into some kind of locker until it can make money before being shared. I think it should be shared right away in the society, publicly, so that people can iterate and create great stuff on it and hack on it. So that's the reason why I've released MotionBox under GPL v3. At the same time, I wanted to express the fact that I mostly agree with most of the values of the original Free Software Foundation, as I believe that they lead to a better society. And especially when it comes to making money, making profit, I really thought a lot about whether to put MotionBox under LGPL or GPL. LGPL is the version that lets you pretty much keep the code closed, so you can sell products, if you will, or services based on this code. And I thought about that a long time, because I thought, you know what, people should be free to do that. But at the same time, I realized that since what I'm doing with MotionBox is quite unique for now on, it's an advantage for the free community to have to keep that innovation as public as possible, and to make sure that it stays public, and that somebody doesn't fork MotionBox to make it a paid program. At least for the first month of the project. I'm not excluding eventually changing the license, but since what I'm doing is pretty unique there, I think GPL v3 is just fine. Anyway, let's stop babbling about license and let's do some real stuff there. Some real coding. So yeah, just renaming that to make sure that it's the proper module. And now we're going to rename the macros there. Alright, so now I need to rename a few things and to change a few things. So we're going to do that. Yep. So we'll implement that later. That's the code to check if a URL is matching with a Bencode file. If the URL is indeed a Bencode file. Keep it simple. So here I got a few private functions that I don't need. I'm going to remove that. Okay. So yeah, I guess I'll explain a little bit my class design there. Yeah, maybe a bit later though. Okay. So this is cool. Here I'm creating query. Actually, I don't need to create a query. Yeah, I don't need that. I don't need that, my dear. Okay. Woohoo! So, yeah. Okay. Let's try to build that, actually. It's most likely not going to work. Yeah. Okay. Let's keep it clean for now. So what that means is not that QNetwork request doesn't exist. What that means is that we're supposed to tell the project that it exists. So that would be that. Okay. Oh. Yep. That's not good. So now I'm crashing on the link. If I'm not mistaken. Because no, it's not on the link because I need to export it with the proper library tag. Yeah. Okay. Nope, you can close it, my dear. Okay. Unused parameter. Oh, that's right. So let me explain my class structure for a second here. Since I'm building a library, what I want to do is to keep that public header as clean as possible. You know, I don't want to implement all the variables and everything in the document clearly. I want to keep the header as simple as possible and as clean as possible. And the reason for that, let me lower that a little bit. The reason for that is very simple. When you're building a library, you have a concern which is called binary compatibility. What that means is pretty much that when you're releasing a new minor version of your library, for instance, say it's like 1.1.2, you know, you can specify whether it maintains binary compatibility or not. What that terms mean is that you could replace the DLLs directly in the software that use them without recompiling that software code. So you could use the newest library without recompiling your binary. So that's very convenient when you just want to get access to the latest and newest fix in the library you're using without recompiling your code. And since I want SkyKit to be a fully usable library, I just adopted the Qt model for this, which is having a private class there, as you can see, a backend Bencode private, where all the variables and private stuff will be declared. So it's a little bit of an overhead when it comes. It's a little bit of a. There's a little bit more to write, because then I need to declare the private accessor inside the function when I want to access them. So it adds that line pretty often, but it keeps the code really clean. And I think it's both interesting in terms of binary compatibility for sure, but it's also interesting in terms of, more importantly to me at least, in terms of clarity, because it's more clear what you're doing and it's cleaner. So now that it's built, we need to do one last thing. For it to be used by other, we need to generate its includes. So yeah, so let me check. What does he see? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So what I did for that is I did a tool that's generating include files for me, so that I don't need to do it by hand every time. So it's there, you call generate, and it should be working. But it works even better when you tell him actually to generate it. So here I have to tell him right there. Yep, there it is. So whoops. So for some reason it's not very clear what's written down there, because the skin I'm using on Qt Creator makes it light purple, not sure why, but you can see that way. So now we should be able to run it again, and boom, and as you can see, or do you? Yes, you can, there. Yep, now we get a bunch of things, including an empty private, because there is no private file right now. But yeah, we're going to add that. We're going to add a bunch of files indeed. So first we're going to add sktorrent, everything related to that, and we're going to add whoa, what the looks like I screwed up my terminal. I don't like when this happens, so I'd much rather close it and not risk anything like that, I remember copy-pasting when I was back at school, copy-pasting stuff in the terminal, and it would screw up my command line and call a bunch of bad commands indeed, so it was a bit scary there. Let's go back there. So let's add sktorrent star, let's add backend Bencode star, and yeah, let's add in src sktorrent. In media, let's add media.pre and backend Bencode dot everything. Oh shit, yeah. This happens because we have regenerated includes, and so by default the the end of the file is from the Windows is in the Windows format, and we need to convert it back. Or the other way around, I'm not sure about that. But Git handles that pretty good with the default setup on Windows. So yeah, cool. Should be working. Let's try to compile it again though. So now, if we go back to our pretty log right there, we could add that created backend Bencode. You know, something like that. So that we know that it's in the skTorrent library that we created it. Let's commit that. Cool. So now we just commit our backend Bencode. So before I start implementing it and testing it, because that's what's going to be, that's where the fun part is going to be, you know, just running MotionBox and testing that it works. Testing it live in MotionBox. Before I do that, I'm going to check the chat, answer a few questions maybe. So let's do that. Okay, so oh, okay, with github.io I can use straight HTML because no commit. If someone decide to implement MotionBox in a different way, it's still considered a fork. Okay, so two questions there. First of all, using GitHub, I suppose that github.io, I'm not sure about that, but I suppose it keeps the history of everything that you did, just like Git. So no commit there. Yeah, GitHub pages. Yeah, lots of people are using that actually. You know, once again, I might take a look, but I really like to keep it low level. You know, why going with you know, with an abstraction like this that could go down anytime when you can do it, you know, yeah. So it should be compatible with Git anyway. So no worries there if it ever goes down. Good stuff. Is someone decide to implement MotionBox in a different, is considered a fork? So implementing MotionBox in a different language is not a fork if the person is pull requesting on my project. If someone says, hey, I just translated MotionBox in this language, could you please approve it? And I say yes, it will go to the main version of MotionBox. Now, if I refuse it, that person might be obliged to fork. If he really wants to have his version in MotionBox. And in that case, I think, you know, if the project that is doing gains momentum, maybe at one time it will involve renaming or changing the identity of it. But yeah. So, yeah. So, okay, let's go back to work. So I don't need that anymore. Yep. Okay. Okay. So now what we need to do is actually test that it's working, that the code is indeed working. So to do that, there's a bunch of things we need to do. So if I remember well, now I might need to modify controller core. Controller core is in MotionBox this time. It's the code running in MotionBox, and I think I might need to specify, right there that I want the backend torrent to be created. But before doing that, I think I'm going to have to modify the deploy right there to tell MotionBox that I want to deploy torrents DLL, if that makes any sense. So yeah. Okay, so this, if we're going there and if we're going to binary, as you should see, yep, we just compile a beautiful, very small library called sktorrent. So this library, we need to deploy it because I'm deploying everything before using stuff. And so we need to tell him there that we want to deploy it so that it can be used in MotionBox. Let me check if we have something pending to be committed. No. Okay, so we'll do that. And we'll commit. Oops. Yep. So added sktorrent. Yep. I need to link against it. Kidoki. Yeah. So it runs, it's compiling, it doesn't seem to crash. It's a good news. So now we need to test it. And we need to make sure that we are testing it legally, of course. And when I'm talking about legal, I'm talking about what Twitch considers legal. So to do that, we need to download that, to try to access to that good old Creative Commons movie called Big Bug Bunny. And here, if I go in the source, we should see that there is a .torrent somewhere right there. So what happens really is that when a URL contains .torrent at the end, Bencode should say, my Bencode backend should say right there, yep, I can handle that, let me do it. So that in the check valid URL, I should be able to pretty much say, if it's a .torrent, man, just give it to me, I'll extract everything. Which is good. So before doing so though, I think I'm going to commit the current code. I'm not a big fan about the backends being declared this way because it's a bit of a, yeah, it's a bit of a mess currently. I could put them this way, but I like to separate the fact that it's a search engine and that it's just video backends. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll refactor that later. You know, one of the reasons I'm doing that stream too is also to force myself to really implement stuff and clean maybe later. You know, if cleaning is needed, I can still do it offline and not streaming the every bit of cleaning that I'm doing to keep the code readable. So yeah. So now there shouldn't be anything different in Sky, and that's normal because what we just modified is in MotionBox. So this is what we modified. Yep. So it's cool. So let's commit that. Now, as I'm doing this, I realized that it would be cool to do something like that. Hold on a second, let me see. I'm not sure what I'm doing in my change logs. Yeah, I'm doing SkyKit and MotionBox. Okay, so we could do it something like that. To split the different projects so that it's clear that I'm implementing library stuff and MotionBox stuff. The cool thing about SkyKit is the fact that MotionBox is entirely based on it, but you could do lots of other applications with it. And indeed, I plan on doing a few samples of other stuff that you might do, including games. What's great about it is that as I'm coding MotionBox, I'm not just coding you know, a one-shot software. I'm also trying to create a fully implemented kit, very serious kit that could really empower users and people wanting to build an application on desktop to do it very fast, and hopefully with a level of design that they like. So MotionBox, we just added torrent dependency. So MotionBox project added skTorrent. Simple as that. Keep it simple. MotionBox project. I'm not sure if I uppercase the stuff. I don't think. Oh, MotionBox readme there. Yep. Yep. Nope. Okie dokie. Whoops. Of course it doesn't. And boom. Okay. So now we're up to speed with MotionBox. So that's good. So now we can start implementing the good stuff, the funny stuff, the fun stuff. So normally, if I'm not mistaken, if I do that and I just print the URL with a convenient call that I called c.url, which is a macro to display URLs directly. If I display that, we should be able to see URL passing by when trying to load the Big Bug Bunny page. So let's try to do. Directly, let's see, which are just an AVI file on the website of Big Bug Bunny. Yeah, that would be a good site to debug actually, because sometimes it just fails to play it, which is, you know, sometimes because the website tries to protect downloads or, you know, media streaming. But anyway, so as you can see there, that's the log. Let's maximize it. So yeah, as you can see, there's a bunch of links there. What MotionBox is doing is I have implemented a pretty powerful parser that extracts every single URL for you. And you can just, you know, parse them and detect whether they're interesting to you or not, whether they're interesting for the current backend or not. So here, logically, there should be a .torrent somewhere, right there. You see? So that or Bencode has to be a playlist. So when he parses that, he says, "Hey, there's a torrent file there. It's a playlist." Forget to close the app before rebuilding it so it crashes. Last time that's why you saw the splash. But it's okay. So yeah, no, I don't need to do that. I can do that. And there should be a hey, and there wasn't. Yeah, because it's not this. So let me close that. Whoops. Yeah. That should be working right now. Yeah. As you can see there, we got 2 torrents. So what's going to happen now is that if it's a torrent, then this video file is actually a troll. You know, in my playlist there's a bunch of them, so sometimes we'll stumble upon one of them, but I think I'll skip them pretty fast though. Never mind. So yeah, now we know when a URL file is a torrent or not, and we can react accordingly. So reacting accordingly in that case is saying it's a playlist. And the way you do that is you implement something else, which is let me check. I'm going to copy paste a bunch of code there, obviously. Yeah. Get playlist info. There, when you actually check for a valid URL, the controller will check whether or not it's a playlist. And if it's a playlist, it will to determine if it's a playlist or not, it will call that get playlist info. And this is returning really 2 things: the type of playlist, which is whether it's the item type, whether it's what kind of playlist it is, and the ID. I'm not sure what the ID is though. Oh yeah, it's the ID of the playlist. It's a unique ID to identify the playlist. So yeah, I need to implement that. Let's do it. I'm not really sure what's ghettos though. Oh. I think I don't give a damn about that. Yeah. Okay. So I'm separating implementation and re-implementation once again for the sake of being as clear as possible for people reading the code. Okay. Cool. So nah. I need to do that once again because I'm going to reuse extensions, so yeah. That's the way it is. Okay. Yeah, just need to return an empty. Back and paste info if it's not a torrent. Okay. Now, yeah. Yeah, and so I think the unique ID would just be the URL for now. Maybe I'll find out something later because at one point, you know, the user will need to be able to specify not just a torrent, but also directly a file from inside the torrent. The Bencode parser will support both a torrent, which will be a playlist for him, or a file, a video file from inside the torrent, which will be a track for him that he can play directly. And so we'll need to do that later, but you know, for now, it would be good this way. That is to say, if it compiles, obviously, but you know, it should be working. So now he's not very happy about what? No matching function to call this. Yeah, you want a string, don't you? Whoop, that's not supposed to happen. Okay. Actually, my keyboard is not very accessible with the microphone in front of it. Maybe I might want to change the setup a little bit. Did it compile or not? Yep, looks like it did. Actually, that's the marker that shows if it compiles or not. It's a little bit discrete, but okay. So now what happens is that if everything worked well, and if I remember well too, because I haven't been touching this code since quite a few weeks now, but what should happen is okay, hold on, we can actually write that sorry, better. Okay, let's just do it. You know what, let's write it better. Okay, simpler. Whoops, come back here, you. So, okay, so now what happens really is that when the triggered get playlist info there returns true, which is when a torrent is detected, then the controller, which is handling the HTML parsing, will ask, oh, okay, so it's a valid URL, but is it a track? No. Is it a playlist? Is it a folder? And to define whether it's a playlist or not, it should call get playlist info. And then in get playlist info, we're going to say, yeah, it's a playlist. So now you should call the proper function that we'll implement in a few to extract the content of it. You know, that's how it works. You know, maybe at one point I'll be implementing something a little bit scalable, because I'm afraid that performance might not be great if you have thousands of backends. But for now, since I have 4, it's okay. Which is another thing which I observe. Always start by doing things simply before doing them sophisticated and scalable. So yeah, that's it. So now we should be able to. We should be called there. Let's check it out. Hey info. We should go inside of that, and we should go there. Hey, I'm a torrent. I'm a playlist. Anyway, just debug, so. Okay. Okay, so let's try again. So as you can see, hey info, hey I'm a torrent playlist. So that's great. That's freaking cool. Okay, so that's cool. So what that means is that it's properly recognizing torrent file as valid playlist. So now we can go to the next step, which is parsing that famous Bencode. We need to parse that now. But before doing so, I guess I'll answer a few questions. Because why not, if they ask questions anymore? Nope, no questions. So yeah. I'll just keep moving there. What time is it though? Oh, already 10:30. Okay. So let me have a drink for a sec. Okay. Okay, let's move on. So now we need to implement the proper torrent extracting. To do that, we need to go there and now we need to implement extract playlist. So now that we got the info, we need to extract it. Because it's not enough just to say, hey, it's a torrent, you need to properly parse it. Otherwise, there's no point. Okay. Am I doing anything special here? No, nothing special. So yeah. Now, extract playlist. It's the good stuff there. So I probably need to read the data, and most likely nah, not that. So I need to declare a reply and return it at the end, no matter what. By default, if I'm not mistaken, it's invalid. But I need to read the content. So it's probably not UTF-8 though. So probably, yeah, it's probably more than it's probably some raw data. So I probably don't need to read UTF-8, just assign it to content if I want to modify it, or maybe not even modifying it. So now, okay, backend YouTube has not been declared yet, as usual, forgetting this. Okay. So once again, I'm going to focus a little bit on the code, but before doing so, I guess I need to understand how it works. So let's see. It supports 4 different types of value: byte, string, integer, list, dictionaries. Okay. Bencode use ASCII characters as delimiters and digits. Yep. So I think it's a raw format. Integers are integer encoded in base 10. Leading zeros are not allowed. Okay, so okay, just checking the chat there, seeing a question, but okay, I stop spam. Yeah, that's the thing when you're starting something. Obviously, there's not a lot of viewers, especially since we're very early in the morning for some, or very late in the night for others. When do you decide it's time to test the app on the different platforms, Linux, OS X? Well, when do I decide to do it? Actually, that's on my top priority list. It's right after torrent streaming. And the reason for that is because first, before making MotionBox multi-platform and starting to make sure that it works on all 3 platforms, I really want to make it usable and interesting to people. And right now, if it's solely playing YouTube, Dailymotion, and Vimeo is broken since yesterday, so I have to fix and update it, by the way, very soon. But if it's only those 3, you're most likely not going to use the player. You're just going to browse your traditional website. Now, if you can access any torrent, any single torrent with MotionBox and stream them in 2 different tabs, then it might get way more interesting. And all of a sudden, it gives MotionBox a whole lot new range of usable use case, if you want. and I'm only speaking about video files there, but who knows what we could do next. So torrent for me is the highest priority because it makes it usable. Once this is done, you know, I'm definitely porting it. So, you know, well, yeah, and that's not a very good flow. The best flow would actually to make sure that it's working on all 3 platforms at all time. But it's the best way to do it, but it's also the longest way. That means that if you're maintaining 3 platforms at the same time, your code is going to be better, no questions about that. But it's a lot of time. It's a lot of work, sorry. It's a lot of work. So I did that initially. Initially, the code that I'm using right there was compiling on OS X because I was working on OS X computers back then. But what I want to do there is just making sure that the software is interesting at least to Windows user before maintaining it on other platforms. Especially since I'm going to need most likely to build the code to have some kind of a building platform to do good stuff, to automatically build and deploy stuff. Right now, I'm just rebuilding on my computer and deploying with a script, which is pretty straightforward, but not very scalable. So I need also to work on the infrastructure to make sure that it works on all 3 platforms, provided that MotionBox has an updater included in the binary. So I'm not sure on which platform you are, but yeah, I definitely want it to run on Linux and OS X as soon as possible. Because yeah, it's I think it's definitely a good plan to have it running. You know, we're getting close to the end of the stream, so I wonder if I should not be doing like a presentation of what MotionBox is. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so Linux, yeah. Yeah, I think MotionBox would be really great on Linux. It would run really well, and because all the technologies are really Linux, are really working flawlessly on Linux, which are VLC and Qt. So, I mean, MotionBox is going to be awesome on Linux for real, especially since browser implementation of Player were not so great last time I checked. So, I think MotionBox could be really, really great in the Linux environment. But right now, since my workflow is based on Windows, you know, I'm just sticking to that platform until I'm ready to port the code. But there's not a lot of work. Indeed, one of my hopes was that somebody might contribute to port it on Linux, would be interested in porting it on Linux, but that hasn't happened for now. We'll see. So now I'm going to access a website about Bencode that I found last time that explains the structure in a more code way, if you want. So it's that. Yeah, found that a few days ago, a simple BitTorrent Bencode decoder. So it's written in Python, so it seems. And it seems that it's explaining pretty well what happens. So there's a tokenize there, there's a decode function there. So what it does is tokenizing. So tokenizing is most likely a loop. Yes, it is. And in that loop, it matches for components and identified whether they're integers, strings, and containers. That's what I understand what it does. So, yeah. And there's some kind of regex there. Okay. Oh, okay. List tokenize. Most tokened object consists of type code following by the object. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so just open that and decode. And then displaying files. Yeah, that's exactly what we want. That's exactly what we want. exactly what we want. So yeah, so the tokenize there, code text, decode data. Yeah, okay. Okay, so if I go back to this, okay. I also found this. This is actually a full decoder, Bencode decoder, written in C++, so very convenient for my case. I'm not sure how it works though. There's a test there, so yeah. So test decoder there. Test decode legal ins, illegal ins. Yeah. Short list, simple dictionary, nested list. I'm not sure what these keywords are about though. 3D printer, what's that? Yeah, just a printer function, tokenizer. Yeah, there seems to be the same regep there and there. Okay. Okay. What is this called? Yeah, it's coding the decoder. Decode. Okay. DQ tokens. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sounds really straightforward. I think I can do that really quick. But I think I'm going to do it in the next stream because I'm always at the 2 hours clock mark. Not quite though, 1:32. I think to end this presentation, what would be interesting is to just do a small presentation of what MotionBox is. So maybe doing that just now. Let me check before if I have something else to commit. So here, do we have anything else? Oh yeah, lots of stuff obviously. So yeah, yeah, this is the initial. Okay, so there we go. Whoops. Looks like I screwed my terminal there too. Okay. Yeah, so playlist info, valid URL and everything. Okay. Let's commit that. There we go. Oops. Yep, okay. So to end this stream, because it's the first time that I'm actually streaming the development of MotionBox, I thought that it would be cool to just do a quick demo of me using the software. So I'm going to do it right now. So let's reset MotionBox to a default state right there. So yeah, this is MotionBox. Let me minimize that and let's go there. So MotionBox is a video browser. So I cannot define and I cannot present you MotionBox by comparing to what already exists. I couldn't tell you, it's like this or that, because it's a really new project and tool. And so I could define it with an analogy. MotionBox is like a web browser that accessing video tracks and video resource instead of web pages. So MotionBox really is a video browser designed to access directly video files, video resources, and to traverse them in the most efficient way. Why is this interesting? Well, it's interesting because I believe we're going to shift from a vertical playback all the way to a horizontal playback. And let me illustrate that. If I'm searching for StarCraft 2, for instance, on the video network, I might find things. Yeah, might find things about it there. In the previous player experience, in the 20th century, in the last decade, you were using, and you are still using player vertically. That means that you run the player. You just play a video, any video really, and let's find one. You play a video, for instance, I don't know, this one, and you just play it, you start it, and when the video is over, you just play another one. It's a vertical experience, right? That means that, once this video is over, I might want to play this one. And there am I playing another video when the network is good and everything. I'm playing another video. So the whole experience is vertical. And there are a few glitches. The whole experience is vertical. That means that you're moving from one source to the other vertically. Now, I believe that in the coming years, you'll be experiencing video horizontally. And what horizontality is all about is this. While you're watching your video, you're opening a new tab, and this time you're typing something entirely different. And you're browsing for it. And when you find it, you play it. And all of a sudden, you've stepped into a whole new world, a world of horizontality, a world where you're no longer playing vertically stuff, but you're going back and forth between one and the other. Imagine how complex it is to do that in the current browser. You have to pause the video, change the tab, replay the video, and do that back and forth again and again and again. Here, I could open 8 tabs and really do that seamlessly. I mean, for anything. So, if I'm just playing some Medion or whatever, I can play it, and then all of a sudden I'm saying, oh, you know what? That reminds me of a great Daft Punk track, for instance, Let's do that. And so I can run it, and I'm playing it, and now I have this whole 8 tabs running. Imagine you could have there a movie, then a gaming streaming session, pretty much anything. You can close them when you just want, 6 of them. And so now I'm playing my Daft Punk track, but maybe I want to go back to the precise moment I was before in the previous video. So I do it by this way, by doing just previous, and I'm on it. And I can go back all the way to the first track I was playing, and then all the way back to the track I'm playing. And when I want to explore even more in depth the tracks, I can just pop up the related menu, and while I'm playing a given track, I can expand that, for instance, and I can explore. For instance, this one seems interesting. Let's explore it. And boom, you know, I'm exploring. And I've just explored in, you know, 5 level deep related track list without interrupting my playback at any time. And if something is interesting, boom, I just can do that and start browsing the related list there. So it's really cool. Yeah, it's really cool. And the cool thing too is that MotionBox is not designed just for browsing tracks. It's also designed to create playlists. So for instance, if I find 3 tracks that seems interesting, I can do that and create a new playlist and call it Daft, for instance. And there it is. And the very next time, if I'm closing the browser now, and if I'm restarting it, it has saved my current playback status. So not only do I have my playlist there, but I also have all my current tabs open, and I can go back to them and just resume where I was at. So it's a really convenient experience to access and to browse back your tracks. What you're seeing there is a glitch when there's not enough bandwidth, and maybe I'm using a lot by streaming right now. There's glitch in the video. So this happens from time to time when YouTube is saturated or so on. But with the next VLC version, this might be fixed. So hopefully you will get a better experience, especially with 60 frames per second videos. The other cool thing about MotionBox is that it supports URL. For instance, if I'm typing http://bungie.me, which is a URL, you know, it's just going to parse it. And there I have the 4 tracks that you could find on my page. For instance, you have a GL Zelda prototype that looks really cool. I did that 10 years ago or so. It's a Zelda program, and there's 3 playlists there that you can access to. And this is a freaking website. So this is a website. So if I'm dragging it, dropping it there, I can refresh it. And so anytime there'll be new videos linked in my website, you'll see them there in the form of a video. So that might think that not much, but it's very powerful because you can browse any website and it will just access it. And you can persist your access to it by just adding the library, the playlist to your library. And for instance, there I could just, you know, search all the Star Wars playlist channels, and there's one, looks cool. I can add it there. And so every time Star Wars will add something, I can just refresh. In the coming version, I hope to do an automatic refresh. That would be cool. But I can just refresh it and just browse, you know, and just, yeah, watch the latest Star Wars videos. And it also supports local file. I can do open file, open folder, and I can literally open any file in any folder. And it also supports the related files for a given local file. For instance, if you have a local file, I don't know if I can demonstrate that, maybe in the next demo, but yeah, you can access local files too. And so when I'm done with torrent implementation, not only will you be able to access torrent as playlist, but also the tracks inside of a torrent directly. That means you'll be able to share that, you know, the third MP4 file in a given torrent with your friend, and you can play it and stream it directly from MotionBox right away. And the torrent streamer I'm going to implement is not going to be based on JavaScript nor Node. It's going to be based on low-level libtorrent C library. That means it will be extremely efficient and fast. So, pretty cool. So yeah, that's MotionBox in a nutshell. That's how it works. And the cool thing about it, to complete this demo, is that, you know, not only do you get this huge wall view, macro view, but you can also minify it, you know, and just have it this way, like I was doing for this entire video. I was just using MotionBox as a player, and indeed, I'm running another instance of MotionBox that is my audio player right now. But you know, if you access, for instance, YouTube now, you could literally just drag and drop any video file or any web page, and it could parse it, for instance, if you see something interesting. And God knows that when you're not registered in YouTube, there's not a lot of interesting stuff there. You could, I don't know, you could just, you know, just drag it up and boom, there it plays. And so I can continue my browsing and, you know, continue learning Bencode while I'm watching this content on the side and on top of anything. And when I'm done watching it, I can go back to the precise millisecond I was at. So when it comes to short video, it's not very interesting, but imagine watching movies, full-length movies. You don't want to lose the moment you were at on the movies. You're on the movie, you want to go back directly to the point you were at. And you want to do that not just for the current movie, but for the 8th movie you might be watching, or for the other clip that you might be watching there, you know. So it's really cool to have this capability of just loading a bunch of videos and playing them horizontally. So the key here is to understand, at least, that we're going to watch more and more videos online. At least think about that. I mean, the internet is such a great place right now to host and access videos. I mean, it completely destroys the television experience. How comes so many of us are still watching TV when we have such a great place like the internet to watch it? Now, you could argue that modern TV is just streaming from the internet, but I mean, the experience, the television experience hasn't been replaced yet. So I think in the coming years, we'll find out ways to browse horizontally, videos horizontally. And MotionBox is just a starting point, because, you know, there'll be lots of other stuff to do before we can reach television. But I think that it's interesting to think about how could we build a video player that acknowledges the fact that we're no longer in a pre-internet world, that now we're in a world where lots of videos are everywhere and we need to find a way to traverse and access them efficiently. So that's what I'm hopeful I can do and I can contribute to by doing MotionBox. Hopefully this will be the case. In any case, it's a very fun project to develop. So, but yeah, that's what MotionBox is in a nutshell. And once again, you close it, you run it again, and I'm running it inside the IDE, and you just go back where you're at. I mean, it's a flawless experience, and you go back like that. So really cool. And you know, in the coming updates, you'll be able to literally download any file that you're playing there. You can download it and keep track of it for when you're not connected to the network. So that's one of the side of what I call motion freedom. That's described a little bit on the website. But yeah, that's cool. So yeah, hopefully I can implement torrents in the coming days, and hopefully this will bring something interesting. So before closing up, I'm just going to check the chat, and if nothing new there, then I just wrap this up for the very first time I'm streaming MotionBox. I'm super excited about that. Super happy about it. And looking forward for the next developing session. Normally this should be next Tuesday, but maybe I'll do some impromptu stream if I have like 1 hour this weekend or something like that, but I'm not sure about that at all. It depends on my family status and things like that, so we'll see. But let me check the chat. So, still my good friend Chicken Skill with the awesome nickname. I understand now why not browser. Yeah, I think that you know, it's a really tough job of explaining to people why this is useful and why this is important, because it's very new. What I could show you too is, for instance, here I'm on YouTube and I'm using my backend, my YouTube backend. If I click on YouTube there, I'm using the browser. So what happens there is that it's accessing YouTube through DuckDuckGo. So here are the DuckDuckGo results. It's not a YouTube parser. It's DuckDuckGo. It's the pages indexated by as listed by DuckDuckGo, and I can browse them. And when I'm on one of these that interest me, I can just dig deeper. You know, click on Adventure there, and just dig as deep as I can. And here you get all the related playlists on YouTube. So, for instance, obviously it's related to music, but if you go even lower, you can find other related playlists and so on. And so you can dig really deeper, and that's just the beginning. Now, imagine I'm parsing every single web page in the world right now, and I'm extracting YouTube, Dailymotion, Vimeo, and that's it, and native files, and that's it. Imagine if MotionBox tomorrow can access and parse 100 of them. Imagine how many videos you could find on all those web pages, and how much better the experience will be. Imagine when it will be parsing torrents. Imagine how great it will be and how convenient it will be to access videos right away. That's what I really want to do, you know. And so there's still a little bit of work to be done, but honestly, I've been working on that for a long time, and now it's a lot of simple implementation and scripting. So hopefully we can get there very fast, and then, you know, pop up the Linux version and OS X, make it work. The cool thing too is that when one backend is slow, for instance, I had glitches previously on YouTube, you can just go to Dailymotion, and here on Dailymotion, since I'm in France, I mean, the bandwidth is amazing. Now, you could imagine that you could do some kind of abstraction with MotionBox that compiles many different resources on many different video platforms, and when the bandwidth is not good with one of them, it just switches with another one, if you know what I mean. So that's a good perspective too, you know. So here you can just browse, you know, your YouTube video, and then boom, I'm going back to this. You know, I just you can access a lot of stuff. So yeah, you could let them decide. For instance, if you're in Paris, maybe you want to access video through Dailymotion or anything like that. So you could do a very simple abstraction indeed. Let me close that. You could do a very small abstraction, you know, like that. I just closed all my browsing, so I just can start again. But you can simplify everything. You can do just a simple file, and inside of it you specify, okay, there are 2 resources that link to YouTube and Dailymotion. Depending on your location and user preference, you can access one of those. So it's a little small abstraction, like an XML file or something simple. And, you know, you're just accessing the video. And if the platforms are down, well, you can just switch on torrents, for instance. Or we could imagine switching entirely from being a server-based service like YouTube to torrent streaming entirely, even for, you know, short videos like what we see on YouTube right now. So it's an interesting perspective. Imagine that, but you know, we'll see how this goes. So yeah, that's been MotionBox. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be streaming next Tuesday, and yeah, I'm just going to shut this down. Thank you very much for following and for being there with me as I code it live. The next time we'll finish the Bencode. I think I'll read up a little bit on Wikipedia what it's all about, and we'll just code it. Maybe I'll do an impromptu stream. If that's the case, just follow my Twitter and I'll say it there. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you very soon.